John McClain, NFL, but so much that he covers with us on 365 Sports. And, John, I saw this note with the Texans named their captains on Monday. Obviously, names like Tunsil and Stroud among some others, Stephon Diggs. But did I see where John Weeks, the never-ending, always, forever, ever-ready deep snapper from Baylor, also was named a captain?
He's named captain every year. Baylor should put him in their athletic Hall of Fame. This is his 15th season. He's never had one bad snap. He's been to the Pro Bowl. He's everything Baylor would want in a player for that athletic Hall of Fame. And yes, he's a captain. What I find interesting is Jalen Petrie was last year and the year before, but he's not this year, and it's voted on by the players. And I have no idea what they do behind the scenes, because Petrie's one of the most popular players, one of the hardest workers, who has moved back to his position that he played at Baylor under Dave Aranda. And he had a great offseason and preseason, and people look for him to make the kind of plays he made at Baylor when he was Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year as a senior.
I think it's you can't have more than one guy from a school. College program.
Be,
yep.
Age over beauty, obviously.
Absolutely, yep.
John, as the season kicks off this week, we see contract disputes getting settled. Brandon Ayuk got settled last week, and CeeDee Lamb, and now Trent Williams. I'm curious about this, knowing that Brandon Ayuk and CeeDee Lamb were never going to miss games, but Trent Williams has done it in the past. So were the 49ers maybe a little bit more motivated to make sure that one in particular got done, knowing that this guy is a true believer in what he says and is not gonna mince words when it comes to here's what I'm prepared to do?
When he held out before, I was shocked. And then when he played as well as he ever played after a year off, I was shocked, because most guys who sit out a season, it doesn't happen much, but usually you're never as good as you were before, and you miss a year's salary. Now, I thought Trent Williams would show up, because remember, this is the first week they start getting their big base salaries split out over 17. So mostly guys show up. Now, Jamar Chase, he has been holding in with the Bengals, and it's getting to be their first big practice is tomorrow. And I still think they'll get something done with him. Although Mike Brown, their owner, is notoriously the toughest guy, usually the cheapest guy. And so his agent knows that. I'll never forget when Achilles Smith was a top 3 pick, quarterback from Auburn, and we interviewed him at Madison Square Garden during the draft. And we said, what do you think about getting drafted by the Bengals? He goes, well, I'm not real happy about it. My agent, and I was standing next to his agent, Lee Steinberg, says they're the cheapest team in the league. And Lee bowed his head and turned 5 shades of red, because he knew those negotiations were going to be even tougher with Mike Brown. So I hope the Bengals get it done, because Joe Burrow, back being healthy, they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender, and he needs his best receiver.
John, Texans and Colts up first for Houston coming up this Sunday, noon kickoff. And just what's kind of your feel now as we get into actual games here? I know there's a lot of reason to be excited, starting with C.J. Stroud, but year 2 now with this staff. Just kind of what are your thoughts on where they are?
A lot of people, Craig, are picking them to be a Super Bowl contender. I'm not. I think they need to worry about winning division, winning a playoff game at home, which they've done 7 times in their career, but then they've lost every time in the divisional round. They need to focus on winning this division and then getting a second home game, which will help them get to the AFC Championship game. Houston, the city of Houston, has not had a team reach the AFC Championship game since the Oilers. I love your Blue Oilers after the 1979 season. I've said all along, I think the Texans would be a legitimate Super Bowl contender next year. The schedule's tough. Teams they go against have great quarterbacks, and they might be up to the task. They're loaded on offense. They're healthy on offense. Defense is more suspect. Tackles. The biggest question on offense is their offensive line. Can it run block? They haven't had a 1,000-yard runner since 19. Haven't had a legitimate runner since Arian Foster retired. So they got to run the ball better. And defensively, they need to get 2 big defensive tackles to replace the starters who they let go or got rid of after setting a team record for sacks and finishing 6th against the run. So that's what we're watching. Defensive tackles and offensive line.
Yeah, that no question about that. You mentioned Ayuk, or you brought that up to you. Is Jamar Chase pouting too? Is this going to be a problem for Joe Burrow in Cincinnati?
I'm guessing, because I think he's got 2 years left on his contract, and he wants $30 million. And it's not the Brown family's habit to give a guy that kind of money this early. And I'm guessing they may play hardball. What you want to do is give them something. Take some of that signing bonus that's prorated over the length of the contract, give it to them base salaries, and give it to them as a bonus right now. Gets the egg off their face a little bit for playing hardball and then it not working out. So you give them a little incentive, they take it, and then they try it again after the season. And I think that's going to happen because Jamar Chase wants to win. Joe Burrow and that team is really good, but they need him. But remember, it's not what you do in September and October. It's what you do in November, December, and January. So the time we get there, these things that have happened now, we won't even remember.
John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist, with us on 365 Sports.
John, as we stand today, what's your Super Bowl prediction?
I have been asked that on several of my stations, and I don't want to pick the 49ers because the Super Bowl loser generally does not go back to the Super Bowl, much less win it, except New England. And the last one that did, not New England, was Buffalo back in the early 90s. So for whatever reason, the Super Bowl loser doesn't go back. And so I'm not picking Kansas City. The odds against the Chiefs are stacked because no team's ever won 3 Super Bowls in a row. My picks are Philadelphia in the NFC, Baltimore in the AFC. I picked Baltimore last year. They lost the championship game home to the Chiefs, and I think Derrick Henry will turn out to be the best free agent signing in the NFL because he's perfect for John Harbaugh. He is perfect for Lamar Jackson. Every time Jackson puts that ball in his stomach and he starts forward, it'll freeze the defense. And when Jackson pulls it out and takes off around in, he will be even more dangerous.
John, the NFL season is 2 nights away. Big night, Thursday night. That is the craziest trend about the team that loses. You would think they'd be hungry, but I guess you're so worn out, distraught, whatever it is, that the offseason must be hell.
Don't know what the reasons are. The 49ers have gone through a tumultuous offseason, big-time holdout, rookie receiver, first-round pick gets shot. He's now having to miss at least 4 games. And so next year, the big controversy with him will be Brock Purdy because he's going to have to be paid. And so it's always something. But I'd love for the 49ers to win it because I like Kyle Shanahan, and he's got a lot of former Texans people in his organization. And I'd like to see him get over that hump of being a guy that can't win the biggest game or even get there after what happened with Atlanta when New England had that biggest Super Bowl comeback in history. So, and there's a lot of good teams out there. Maybe Joe Burrow will be able to come back and they'll get everything worked out. Maybe the Cowboys will surprise everybody, win the Super Bowl, and Dak will get $70 million a year.
John, thank you as always.
Thank you, guys. Sick 'em Bears. Congratulations to Baylor, and good luck. They're going to need it.
All right. That's John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist. He's been doing this a long time, man. This NFL season, I don't know. I'm not, San Francisco, Philadelphia. I think this is the year Dallas doesn't get past the second round of the playoffs.
Right. Well, way to go. Yeah, they're not going to do anything.
I mean, history shows.
It's been such a productive offseason.
I would be willing to bet that they don't make the postseason. Like I'm kind of convinced that they might be that bad.
I'll bet you a keg stand.
No, I'm not. I can't do that again. Can't do that again. I'll get in trouble.